Hello everyone, and welcome to Slipjoint Sawyer. Today we're going to be taking a look at a old USA made knife, and over the last sort of couple of months I've really been getting into these. I've been collecting different bits and pieces, for picking up ones where I can. Now Dan over at Bladebridge Customs, not only is he a big dealer in the Swiss Army knives, he is able to get older USA stuff and does have it from time to time. So always keep an eye on his Instagram, Bladebridge Customs. He has some fantastic stuff on offer. All his details on the back here, but he is my sort of go-to for older USA knives, as well as I have picked up a few here and there on Etsy in the UK. But we're going to be taking a look at a Barlow today. This is one I've had for quite a while, but I've never really sort of shown it. I wanted to sort of learn a bit more about the knife, who made it, a bit more about the history of the company. But this is a Remington. You can see here we have the Remington oval shield on here. Of course you have a nickel silver bolster, slightly pinched on the end. And of course that is about nearly 1/3 of the whole handle, so that's a pretty standard Barlow pattern. Do have saw cut, what I believe is a synthetic or a Delrin on there, with nickel silver pins holding that together. Now the Remington Barlow, this one was made by Camillus. It's what I could find online, and also based on the appearance of the knife in general. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, pretty much 3.5 inches closed. It looks like we have stainless springs with brass liners going around the whole knife. Fit and finish and build quality is pretty damn good. I'm really impressed with this. Now there is a little bit of an issue with the springs slightly raised. I did watch Mr. Barlow's video on this actual knife. I did see he did it maybe 2 years ago, and his was pretty much identical. So it doesn't seem to be just this one. It just seems to be a thing across the whole line. I mean, it is very minor, but you can catch a nail on the springs there, but it doesn't detract away from the knife at all for me. Reverse the knife then again, exactly the same as the front, just minus the shield. We have that saw cut Delvin on there as well. Nice nickel silver bolster. Just really love the fit and finish of these older USA made knives. They are done absolutely immaculately. Like, I've shone a flashlight through here, there is no light coming through at all. Blade centering, pretty good. Favoriting the pile side of the knife with the main blade, but ever so slightly. And then the pen blade is quite heavily towards the liner, but it's not touching, so no problems at all with that. You can see we have flattened off tangs, so we're going to have half stops on both of these blades. It's nice to see they're separated with a liner all the way down, so that stops any sort of blade wobble or blade knock side to side. Overall, first glances, really impressed with this. Now, I have been carrying this along with my Ashley Harrison Sodbuster the last sort of couple of days, and I've really enjoyed using it. Now, the Barlow pattern for me, it's that sort of Goldilocks zone. 3.5 inches to 3 3/4 inches is pretty much the size that really sort of fits my hand. It's a nice, comfortable carry, and especially with this Camillus made Remington Barlow, the tangs are almost nearly covered up. And they are nicely rounded over as well, so then you're not going to catch your hand on them. They're not going to sort of catch in your pocket either. But let's take a look at the blades. So on the front, you get the pen blade. So you have the cat's eye nail nick on there, and this sort of tumbled, polished finish. Actually pretty similar to a victorinox finish on this one, I will say. Edge grind on this, pretty good. Maybe a little bit heavy towards the tip on the front side. And pretty much the same on the back. It's a little bit heavy towards the tip, but this thing is really sharp, and it's got a great snap on it. It's definitely about a 7 to a 7.5 pull on this. See, all the way down, really well done. Blade length then for the pen, we have 1 3/4, so no qualms of that being UK legal for length with there. And then the blade length for that is pretty much, the cutting edge I should say, pretty much on that 1.5 inches. So it's a nice little pen blade, great for smaller tasks, or indeed if you do use a quill and you're still into all that sort of stuff, perfect for sharpening that. For me, I use the pen blades if I'm sort of doing any sort of carpentry. I'll sharpen my pencils and stuff with it. I think it's just great for that, like pull cut towards the end, or you can cut away from you, whichever you prefer. But just listen to the snap on this. Such great walk and talk on this knife. So there we have the pen blade. and then the main blade. Now this main blade just screams Camillus to me. Just see just the overall shape of the clip point, the long pull on there as well. But from what I can find online, these were sort of contracted out as part of their sort of budget work line to Camillus in the 1990s. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that date is 100% factual, because the tang stamp does match knives back from the 30s, but I mean, there's no way this knife is from the 30s. It's stainless steel, and it's just in too good a condition. But it does sort of match the tangs though, which is very weird. But you can see here we have Remington in the middle and sort of a block text, and then we got made in USA around the outside of the circle. We do have a nice long pull on there, and then quite a heavy grind all the way around, but it is screaming sharp, this knife. And look at that. Doesn't that sort of shape to a Barlow, honestly, is just absolutely superb. It's a nice straight line as well. There's none of this downward cant, and it's just, this is what I mean about the 3.5 to 3 3/4. You can choke up right on that ricasso, and it's really comfortable in the hand. No hot spot at all from this blade, but of course that tang down there is pretty much hidden. Not too soft on the spring as well. You can definitely close it with one hand, but there's enough of a pull there. I'd say this one is about a 7, if the pen blade's about a 7.5, but that's mainly just as a smaller blade, not much to grab onto. There we go. Do have a nice little sharpening choil down here. Edge pretty uniform across both sides of the blade, so nothing really to complain about there. Do have a little bit of rubbing on the blade here. You can see where it's just caught the liner a bit, but very, very slightly. Nice sort of blade stock on this as well, down to a nice fine point. Now the full blade length for the clip point, we are looking at 1 to just a hair over 2.5, 2.55 inches, I would say, and then a cutting edge of 1 to 2.25 inches. So again, very UK legal knife, pretty much a very world friendly knife, to be honest. It's 2-hand opening. You can't one-hand open this even if you wanted to, and it's under that sort of limit for the UK and some European countries as well. But I'm really impressed with this thing. I'm really loving the older USA stuff. Now I know this isn't super old. It's probably about maybe 80s, 90s at the oldest, but it's been made flawlessly well. The only sort of gripes I would say is the springs are a little bit raised. You can just about see them at the top there, and the blade centering on the pen blade is a little bit off. But honestly, it's not going to be one I'm going to use a hell of a lot. It's going to be one that sort of stays in the collection I use from time to time. But the model number for this, from what I could find, was, I know the Camillus one, it's the number 51. I'm pretty sure the Barlow pattern is. But all I could sort of find for this, the model number is 9505. I think it's R9505. The first two being the pattern number, then something to do with the blades, and then something to do with the handle material. But honestly, it's so confusing trying to find all these different ones out, especially when it's a company that's contracted out, because some things sort of change, the model numbers tend to change. And I know with Remington they did put model numbers on the tangs of the blades, but on this one there is nothing. It's just plain on the back there. See, there's nothing on the back there. But honestly, this is a fantastic knife, and I've been loving this little thing. So Remington Barlow pocket knife. This was made by Camillus. I'm going to say about the 90s. Model number is 9505. I really hope you enjoyed my review. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.